Fluency journey. 여러분, in today's video, I want to talk about markers that can tell that you are really good at Korean. Well, first of all, I must say that this is my own personal opinion, which is based on my own observation and experience of learning and teaching Korean. And just for your reference, and so don't judge too seriously. Well, when we think about proficiency and fluency, of course, we cannot ignore the pronunciation, the grammar, the complexity of different grammatical structures and words, right? But I wrote like 5 things that can make your Korean sound, more advanced or native-like, because by looking at these things, if the person uses these things correctly, properly, you can tell that he's good at Korean. Okay, so number 1 is the ability to use 조사 properly. So 조사, you know, things like 이, 가, 을, 를, 에게, 으로, 에서, 에게. So lots of those particles, and they are really confusing when you start learning Korean, and some of them have different meanings and are used in different contexts and can mean totally different things. That's why for the most people, at the beginning, it's kind of challenging. So, and it takes some time to be able to learn and use them properly in the setting. That's why when I listen to my students as well, or some other people who have learned Korean for a long period of time, I also pay attention to how they use the 조사. Do they use it properly? Do they overuse it or underuse it, or maybe not properly? So, and it's not easy. There are lots of rules for those 조사. Unfortunately, we get only just a limited amount of information given in the books for foreigners learning Korean. So that's why if you know how to use those particles, 이, 가, 을, 를, 은는, and you know the difference when and how to use them, you can consider yourself a very fluent and proficient language like Korean speaker. So that's why I always try to teach these topics in more detail to my students. And number 2 is, which is I'm lacking also, is the ability to use figurative speech, like metaphors in Korean. Most people think that having a wide range of vocabulary or grammatical structures is really good, and they think that you are really advanced. Yeah, I don't think that it's a bad thing knowing those grammatical structures, but with some simple words, you can explain difficult things, like with metaphors, with with comparisons, right? And that, I think that's the highest level of language proficiency or fluency, because I'm still working on that, and I don't think that I am able to use them properly in the speech. I read a lot about them. I read how other people use in their speech those metaphors, right, in Korean, and I feel like, oh my god, I have still long way to go. And I think it comes also from a lot of reading, a lot of observation, or metaphors and figurative speech in Korean is also one thing that we need to also know. I think it's not a must, but if you want to upgrade, if you want to take your Korean skills to the next level and sound more native-like, sound more advanced, then I think it's must being able to use those metaphors in your speech. And number 3 is the pronunciation. Of course, I first wanted to exclude this point from my list, but I think pronunciation is also very important. Like, by pronunciation, I mean those pronunciation rules and the rule of 연음, which is the ability to to combine those, like if a one syllable ends with a consonant and the next starts with a vowel, so you need to read like a one word instead of reading them separately, right? So at the beginning level, I stress this point a lot to my students because sometimes Koreans might not understand what you want to say when you separate them. Actually, when they actually try to combine those like syllables as one word, even they are written separately. So learn the pronunciation rules, even if they are confusing, even if they are challenging, and practice more the yeonum. So trying to read them in like as a one word in the when you speak. Yeah, that's for the pronunciation. And number 4 is the style and variety, being able to use various styles of speech. It also needs some practice and some time because when we are introduced to Korean, like level 1, like level 0 level, right? So we learn like 입니다, 씁니다, 아요, 어요, right? But there are lots of other structures, ending, especially sentence ending structures that Koreans use in their speech, and all this can also be a marker of your Korean fluency and proficiency. So instead of saying always 뭐입니다, 저는 뭐 학생입니다, 저는 한국어로 공부합니다, 저는 뭐 열심히 공부하고 있습니다, like this kind of can make your speech a little boring to native ears. But of course, in the beginning, we always start like this because we don't know other structures and we are not exposed to other things. That's why it's okay in the beginning. But yeah, now you know you can work on that. Try to listen more to native Koreans, how they make their speech various using these kind of structures. And number 5, which is the last one, is the 높임말. So even Koreans, in order to impress Koreans, you have to be able to use 높임말 in your speech. How to use, in what situation, and lots of things. It's like a one big topic about the 높임말. And even advanced speakers, when I listen to them, when I kind of analyze, I still notice people misusing or not using or overusing those 높임말 expressions or grammar like she, right? So when you kind of show respect to the speaker or to the object of the sentence, right? For example, 선물을 드리다, right? We give, like it depends also on who you give the present. For example, if it's a professor, you or your boss, you say 드리다, 선물을 드리다. But if it's let's say your friend, you just say 주다, 선물을 주다, right? And also when someone does something, for example, if it's a boss or if it's your, let's say, professor, then you always use 뭐뭐 하십니다, 뭐뭐 하셨습니다. But if it's just you or your friend, you can just say normal sentence, right? 뭐뭐 했어요, 뭐뭐 해요. And I feel like a little sad when it's not taught properly in language schools, or when not enough information is given in the Korean textbooks for foreigners. That's why I turned to books or textbooks that Koreans, native speakers, use when they study their own language, like Korean as a mother tongue. So, and I got a lot of information, a lot of useful information about that. So that's why I hope that someday maybe those teachers, maybe professors who make those books for foreigners about Korean, they will maybe complement this part by giving some more detailed information. And yeah, it took me also, I guess, maybe more than 6 months to to fully understand this structure of 높임말, how to use it and where to use it, and I have never been told that I'm misusing or not using it properly in conversation. And that's why Koreans, when I talk them, when I use the 높임말, they all kind of impressed that, like, how can you use that properly and correctly? And I say, well, I practiced a lot and it doesn't come easily, and you need to practice, you need to study, you need to practice, you need to, if you have some problems, some issues, like questions, you need to ask native speakers how would they use it. But I still have one problem in Korean, which is 앞존법, which I really hate and I don't want to accept. That is, for example, you have two people, right? Your boss, your team leader, let's say, and you need to show respect to your boss or to your team leader. And the rule of 앞존법 tells that if you're talking to a person who's higher than the person that you're talking to, you need to lower kind of the person. Like, for example, I have team leader and I have 사장님. Of course, when I'm talking to 사장님, I have to lower my team leader because he is in a lower position than 사장님, right? But to me, they both are in higher status and higher position, which I can't accept. I know how to use, I know that I have to use just a simple form for my team leader, but that's what I'm working on. That's really hard for me actually to put into practice. Okay, so I need to, that's why I just try to avoid those situations when I have two people to to show the respect, right? 높여야 되는 그런 상대가 두 명이면은 조금 어렵습니다. 앞전법 때문이죠. 그래서 가끔 실수를 할 때도 있고, 이 부분에 대해서는 조금 지적을 받았던 기억이 있습니다. 이제 직장 생활을 하면서 이제 같이 일하는 동료부터 이럴 때는 이렇게 써야 된다라고 지적을 받은 적이 있고, 그래서 저도 이제 그거는 몰라서 한 건 아니고 그냥 조금, 그래서 그 상황에서 저는 두 분도 이렇게 높여드리고 싶은데, 근데 그렇게 안 되니까, 이제 규칙상 그렇게 안 돼서, that's why I'm still having a little problem to accept this grammar point. So yeah, so these 5 things, 조사 and metaphors in Korean and pronunciation rules and 연음 and style, variety of style in your speech, and 높임말, 높임법, 높임말. Yeah, if you can use them properly, correctly, then you can consider yourself a very proficient and very good at Korean. So yeah, that's it. That's what I wanted to share today. And yeah, I hope, and I also see and notice people, like a lot of students and my students as well, that are having difficulties with these topics yeah, you should not think like Korean or any other foreign language as, okay, so I will learn this and that's it. No, you have always to practice, maintain your level, and learn again from your mistakes, from others, which I'm also doing right now all the time. And yeah, so I hope you will find this video helpful, and good luck and all the best with your studies of Korean language. Thank you. Bye.